Would I be the asshole for asking a boy's family for an item that he borrowed from me before he died? So I'm 14, and almost 3 weeks ago I let a boy in one of my classes at school borrow my sweater. He said he'd give it back to me after his mom did laundry, but unfortunately a few days after this happened he was killed in a bad car accident. Obviously I knew it wasn't okay to say anything before his funeral, but now that it's been a couple of weeks I'm wondering if it would be okay to go to his family and ask them for my sweater? The main reason that I'm not sure if it's okay to ask is because I've never met his family at all and I don't think they even know who I am. I knew this boy from being in school together but we weren't friends or anything. I did ask my older sister for advice but she said that if it were her, she just wouldn't ask because she would be worried about upsetting the boy's family. And I do agree that if it was just any random piece of clothing I wouldn't bother asking at all. But this is a sweater that I got on an important trip and it has the name of the place where I stayed, so I do care about getting it back. I only let him borrow it because it was an emergency. So WIBTA? Nah, but you have to ask in the right way. I knew X from school, and was upset to learn what happened. I loaned him a sweater a while ago, and when you get around to going through his things, I'd like to get it back. It holds memories for me. I'm not in a hurry, and understand if you're not ready to do that yet. It looks like why. Firstly, I am sorry everyone is basically jumping down your throat for even asking this question. Personally I think asking for other opinions shows a lot of respect and empathy for the situation. That being said, don't approach the family. Talk to your parents first. If they can replace the sweater that would really be the best case scenario. If they can't replace the sweater they can help you maybe think of an alternative or barring all other options. They will be able to navigate the process of attempting to get the current sweater back and likely a lot easier than you would alone. No assholes here, especially not you for wanting it back, but tread carefully with as much empathy and compassion as possible. ETA changed verdict to nah. While it's terrible timing to ask for this from a grieving family, I want to give you kudos and say good job for asking first. Not enough adults stop to ask and think about how their actions may affect people that are hurting. The fact that you did just that? Means you're considerate and kind enough to lend out a sweater and ask for guidance before making a bigger deal about asking for it back under the circumstances. Good luck op, and keep asking about social guidance and help. Don't talk to the family. Talk to your parents first. Ask them if they can replace the sweater. And if they can't, ask your parent to speak to theirs. YWNBTAH if you asked in a polite and respectful way. Perhaps sending a note card with an expression of sympathy and a polite request with your address. Am I the asshole for screaming at a child and making him cry? I, am 21, went to eat with some friends from college to a restaurant that's near the campus. The place is not the nicest, but it's better food than McDonald's and we used to go there when we want to have a semi-special occasion. This time the occasion was that the four of our had passed our exams. It was lunchtime, the place was not completely full, but full enough. We had bad weather so we stayed inside, everyone did. Most people were adults. Then two women, an older one and a middle-aged one, came with a baby and a kid around 7/10 of a year old. I was sitting facing the door so I saw them walk in but I didn't think any of it. I'm not someone easily annoyed by kids most times. They took a table in a corner. Our table was around the middle of the room. We were waiting for our food and chatting. The kid was playing with the baby and they were making a bit of noise, but then again we all were making noise as most of us were accompanied and chatting. After our food came in though, the kid started to wander around. He wanted to read a sign near the door, then one near the back. After that he wanted to go to bathroom, then he wanted to go outside, etc. It was kinda annoying, but quite easy to just ignore. Should I say that neither of the women that were with him did nothing to stop him, not at any time. At some point, the kid started to run around while yelling, he was playing to something by himself. He went on, and neither of the women did something. Other people were looking annoyed too. He even accidentally hit my friend's chair. As we were in the middle table, he started running circles around us. By the third time he tried passing next to me I put my arm out to stop him. I told him to stop that and to go sit down and wait until he's home to run around because it's inappropriate to bother other people at a public space. I also told him I'll have him wait outside alone if he doesn't behaves, which I was obviously not gonna do because I can't basically, it was just to scare him off. I honestly don't know how it came out. In my mind I was quite calm but apparently I was screaming at the kid. The kid started to cry and then, I assume, his mom came in and told me off for telling at him and how he's just a kid and was playing and such. I told her I wouldn't have had to do anything if she would have told the kid to stay quiet before. Some guy from the staff came in and asked what happened. She told him I had yelled at the kid. I told him that yeah I did but calmly explained why I did it. He said that we should just let this go for once and that next time the staff will manage the situation before anything happens. The woman was fuming so they left. My friends told me I did in fact screamed at the kid but they were annoyed too and said they were about to complain with management over this kid. I honestly think that would have been the best idea and now I think that I took the wrong turn here. Your friends told you were screaming at a child and you still don't know if you were an asshole? You threatened him with being left outside all alone until he cried and you still don't know if you were an asshole? Unbelievable, dude. You are the asshole. Just complain to the waitstaff next time and have them deal with it. You are the asshole. If you have a problem with a kid's behavior, you don't start screaming at the kid. You go talk to the adults in charge so they can deal with it. By your own friend's admission, you overstepped your bounds in a big way. Learn to control your own behavior before you presume to dictate the same to a child. WIBTA. I also told him I'll have him wait outside alone if he doesn't behaves, which I was obviously not gonna do because I can't basically, it was just to scare him off. This is extreme and very strange. Scare him off. You're threatening to punish a child who is not yours. You are the asshole. You don't discipline, let alone scream at a young child directly. You address any issue to the parents or the staff of the place you are eating. You have no idea of that child's history and to threaten to separate him and leave him alone could frighten him in ways you haven't even thought about. You are the asshole one. You can't control yourself but demand self-control of a kid too. You were annoyed by a kid reading signs? Really? 3. You screamed and threatened a kid. 4. You can't assume by yourself that you are the asshole. Edit. I guess the kid was just bored. I on my part entertain kids for a few minutes or talk to them. I also learned how to make balun animals and I always have baluns with me. Can really recommend that. Kids are happy, parents are relaxed and everyone can have a good time coexisting. BC I know what it is like to be stuck in boring environments. Am I the asshole for walking out during my fiancé's birthday dinner over what my FMIL said? Throwaway for privacy. I'll preface this by saying that I'm an introvert. Although I'm in my 30s and have 2 kids, I've always struggled with being social. I have to admit that it can have negative impact but it's part of my personality and I'm glad everyone around me respects that and understands. However, my FMIL whom I met after meeting my current fiancé, tends to make comments about me being awkward or overly shy. She always criticized me for it and oftentimes she would bring it up in front of everyone and make me feel anxious. My fiancé's birthday was yesterday. I'd put lots of work and preparation in order to fit in with the family and just be chill and normal. Everything was going well till we gathered at dinner table. My FBIL came to sit with us and pulled his chair too close to mine that our hips almost touched. I felt awkward. I got up and tried to pull my chair inches away from him. He didn't react but his mom, FMIL, was watching the whole thing and looked at me and said, "Good God. You're so uptight I bet you made your ex-husband put a sheet over you each conception," followed by a laugh. I was blown away completely. People actually laughed with her and I felt so upset. I quietly got up and took my stuff and walked out. My fiancé followed me outside saying I overreacted and ruined his birthday over a joke. I was so upset we got into a huge argument then I insisted to go home. He came back hours later yelling about how I ruined his birthday and made a scene in front of his family. He said he was sick and tired of my uptightness and that I need to loosen up and stop acting childishly. His mom called and he's now refusing to speak to me unless I apologize to him and his mom for storming out like that since his mom was just giving her opinion in a funny way, and this is how she is. Not the asshole. You need to get out of this relationship. Being a single mom may be tough, but a future husband who would allow his mother to make sexual joke in front of family to a person who obviously has social anxiety is not a man you should marry. Run from this family. Not the asshole. Leave this man and his shitty family. Edit. I want to add to this and say he should have defended you against his rude mother instead of blaming you for ruining his birthday dinner. You're not the one who ruined it, his horribly rude mother is, and if he can't see that now he probably never will. His mom was out of line and he doesn't have your back. Are you sure the two of you should be getting married? Woo. Such a red flag that he defended his mother and told you off. That's a very bad precedent for your marriage because it will continue to happen over and over. You will end up miserable. Run fast. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Do not apologize. Your ex-FMIL is saying, I find jokes about you funny. Why don't you find jokes about you funny? Ex-FMIL, you made a disgusting joke about your son's fiancée's sex life. At a birthday dinner. Of course she walked out. And defending your other son's actions, the one sitting too close to the op, is the typical justification people give for the behavior of a predator. You should be glad you found out how horrible these people are before you tied the knot. Call off the engagement. They are not nice, and your fiancé's actions in not defending you, and yelling at you later, show that he's hated you all along. Get away from these awful people. Feel free to show this comment to XFMIL if you're in contact again. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for rudely responding to my Mills comments about my home and insulting my husband? DH and I have been together for 2 years. He and I live in a home that I bought from my mom's inheritance money. His mom always talks about how messy our home is, and although there's 2 people living in this house, she always directs her comments and criticism towards me. She'd even bring it up in front of lots of people, which puts me on the spot constantly. She also seems to forget that I'm pregu and still work while her son covers 2-night shift every other week. Last week was my final straw. We were gathered at dinner, and she brought up how messy my home was the last time she visited. She lectured me for half an hour about it, then started shaming for the state of the house. I snapped and told her, it's so ironic and hypocritical of you to keep lecturing me on the state of my house as if I don't live with someone that you raised. She went silent and DH stared at me in disbelief. Things got awkward, and next thing I knew, DH storms out and dinner gets cut short. We went home and he yelled at me about how I insulted and humiliated him by implying that he's a lazy, dirty bum. He said it was a cheap attempt to get at him when I should have just kept him out of the conflict his mom and I have. He's not speaking to me and he's extremely upset. He went to stay with his brother and has burned cold to me about this for days now, saying I used him as a tool to get back at his mom and that he was innocent and shouldn't have been humiliated like that. Am I the asshole? Well, he barely works, he barely cleans, he won't intervene when his mom is unloading on you, and he thinks you should have protected him from her arguing. What, exactly, are you getting out of this relationship? Not the asshole, but not sure our opinions are what matters here. At a minimum I'd ban Mill from the house. Make a rule that she sees the baby only when you visit her, and make it clear that the minute she starts up with insults you and baby are leaving. Plan to have to walk out 5-6 times before she gets it. Not the asshole. From my reading, the lazy, dirty bum didn't like being called a lazy, dirty bum in front of the person who raised him to be a lazy, dirty bum, who was calling his wife a lazy, dirty bum. I see no problem with your actions here. Edit. Thanks to you, KNR27, for closing the loop out perfectly. Had to pull it into my original response. Otherwise, sincerely hoping that the response to OP's question here has her thinking of what all she has been tolerating in her home. Why, and if it's at all remotely worth it. Everyone deserves better than this. Don't settle. Not the asshole, but we at Reddit are having a hard time figuring out what your husband's role is. You bought and paid for the house. You do all the housework. You are the primary breadwinner. Your husband freely allows his mother to abuse you. Aside from getting you pregnant, he seems a bit useless. I'm assuming you'll also be in charge of all childcare too? Not the asshole. So his position is that you should be the only one humiliated by his mom? While he sits in silence and lets it happen? He is right about one thing: he's a tool here. It's so ironic and hypocritical of you to keep lecturing me on the state of my house as if I don't live with someone that you raised. You're not the asshole, but you are my hero. Bravo, lol. Brilliant response. Honestly, your husband, who should have been defending you to his mother and instead sat silently by listening to all of it, deserved what he got.